Welcome back to a new week of Out of the Bubble podcast. My name's Rachel Peru, and as always, we have a really interesting guest with a fascinating subject that I know lots of people. I've had lots of conversations with friends and other women that are going through the perimenopause and menopause and have decided that actually alcohol is not working for them anymore and it doesn't make them feel very good. So today we are talking to Claire Owen, the Soberholic. Claire is a lady that, by her own admission, 4 years ago, she was drinking 100 units of alcohol a week, which is about 10 bottles of wine a week, and slowly made that decision to cut it out of her life completely. She has been sober for the last 4 years, and the benefits to her life has been immense, and it's really changed things around for her, and she feels so much better. She now helps other women through her membership group and Facebook. She's written a book, and she really encourages other women to stop and have a think about their drinking habits and see if it really is doing them any good, and if it's a time to maybe address some of that. And so I'm really looking forward to this conversation today with Claire. So grab a coffee and sit back and enjoy. Welcome, Claire. It is so nice to finally have you on the podcast. How are you doing?
I'm just a little bit in awe, if I'm honest. I'm really excited to be invited to come and chat to you. I've been kind of watching you unfold and just been a little bit, I'm a little bit starstruck, if I'm honest.
Don't be, it's only me, as you will find out in this next time that we have together. And we kind of connected about 6 months ago, and likewise, I've been following your journey. And I did a little bit about you in the introduction, but how do you describe yourself to people?
Well, it's interesting because I would always lead with sober coach. But recently, when I've been on the radio presenters have been saying an alcohol-free life coach, which I'm just going to take that badge instead because
Yeah.
that's really what it's about. It's about I'm a life coach, but my main target is her who thinks that she's not bad enough to quit drinking alcohol.
Yeah, we've got so much to talk about this morning. And what about Claire the person? If you could choose three words to describe yourself, what would they be and why?
Oh, that's interesting. I think when you asked me that in the email, I was sat with it for a while. And I think the only way to really sum it all up now is a lifelong learner. So I love to learn. I home educate my children, which people are equally as horrified with that idea as not drinking alcohol. But it just unfolded quite naturally. And I love to learn. I feel I'm on a personal development journey since I stopped drinking. And yeah, that's pretty much who I am. I'm here hopefully to learn from you.
Well, I mean, I talk to so many women, particularly women that are either perimenopausal or menopausal, that get to this stage in life when actually alcohol just does not agree with them. And I know myself, I very rarely drink now because when I do, even one glass of wine gives me a thick head and makes me very tired. So this conversation has come up in my peer group a lot about not drinking alcohol anymore because it doesn't make them feel good. But, can you tell us a bit about your backstory about how this all started and why you did take that decision to quit alcohol?
Well, I would have classed myself as a typical binge drinker. I was living for the weekends, but I was also drinking it through the week. And my typical week would be probably a bottle of wine most days, maybe a day off through the week, maybe less one day, but certainly more another day. And it wasn't necessarily itself looking like that was the problem, but I had many other problems. The business I was running wasn't what I wanted it to be. I was stuck in between knowing whether I wanted to grow my business or to just walk away. And I couldn't make a decision and stick to it. I think that was my main problem. And because my life, to other people, it looked good. I was managing other people's properties. I had my own properties. It looked probably easy, but inside I was under a lot of stress that I was actually in control of. I was putting myself in that position in not really knowing how to get out of it. Instead, I was just relying on that wine to kind of get me through, like that mummy needs wine culture. And
Yeah.
it wasn't until a friend came back in my life and she wanted somewhere to live. And I set her up in this property and we got chatting again. And I thought what she needed was a good night out, a new top and a night out. And as I spent more time with her, I realized that drink had actually got a hold in her. And it broke my heart because at one time it was all about glamour, hair, makeup, outfits. And now none of that seemed important to her anymore. And it actually frightened me.
Mm.
It frightened me to the point where I actually started questioning what I called fun and like really seeing it through a different lens. And so I got inspired for we to stop drinking together. And we did that together for a while. I found it really hard. It wasn't the physical hard I need a drink. It was just that it was ingrained in every area of my life. It was everywhere and I could see it. And I kept thinking for her, because it was more of a physical, if you could say her problem was worse than mine, we could have
Mm.
said that from the outside, that's what it looked like. Yet I was drinking more than her. We were drinking the same stuff. So for the first time, instead of blaming the person, I started questioning the juice.
Yeah.
And then I started looking at my relationship with my husband, and many of the problems we had were down to alcohol, whether it was my fault or his fault, it didn't really matter. It was, if it hadn't been for the alcohol, we wouldn't be having that situation. So
Yeah.
I just started to question this thing that I thought was the glue holding my life together. And it took a long time. It took a long time to unpick it. And I tried to cut down for a while. And that looked okay. But I just felt like I was constantly had the brakes on. And I'm probably more of an all or nothing person. I'm in or I'm out. And I didn't feel the same, just kind of holding back. I don't know, just something changed. I just questioned it. And so I decided to try life without it. And once I got to a point where I paid off the sleep overdraft, I started to feel the benefits. I just started to look better and feel better about myself. And I think that was what I was missing. I didn't know that that was what I was missing when I was drinking. So it was a long process, and I'm 4 years now. My husband's joined me. He's nearly 2 years without alcohol, and it's just changed everything. I feel like I've got a brand new life. It's everything looks different.
It's interesting because lots of people will have just done dry January, myself included. I don't drink a lot anyway, but lots of people will do that for a month and they will feel better, but then they slowly start drinking again because it's so ingrained in our culture, especially in the UK. I think it's a very British thing to a night out includes alcohol, and if you don't drink, there's a lot of pressure and almost a stigma against you, as if why do you not want to have fun? How hard was it socially for you to stop and for friends to understand why you were doing it and see the benefits?
It was really hard.
Mm,
I'm going to be honest. I think that's the problem, because we're in it together and we're all sharing this drinking thing together. When you stand up and say, I'm not going to do that anymore, you're almost saying to everyone else that they have a problem.
yeah.
It's really hard, but I think it's a deep and honest look at yourself first. That's the most important thing, to get it right in your own head. And then when you feel comfortable, to have the conversation with the people in your life that matter. Because what you'll find is, yes, you've got these friends who you get together and you have a drink with. They don't need to understand.
Mm.
They don't need to understand. You do not need to convince other people. This is about you. And maybe now they don't understand and they might ask why. When they see you in 3 months, they'll be asking how. How are
Yes.
you doing this?
Yeah, why you look so good.
It's not even about how you look, it's how accepting you are of yourself. It's not that, like, if for me, if my motivation was weight loss, I would have given up like month one, month two, month three, because that doesn't come until much later.
Mm.
It's the sleep overdraft first, which improves your energy to do the things that you enjoy doing. It's not like pushing yourself at the gym harder, it's not hitting yourself with a bigger stick. It's really just embracing who you are and learning to love yourself, which is everything that you're about. That's what I
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, no, it is, and it's interesting because you said at the beginning about how alcohol is almost like a release to you, and it's very much really the message at the moment in the media. It's all about women going out for prosecco hour, or there's lots of memes about it. There's lots of gift cards, birthday cards. It's all surrounded around girls having a great time, and you've deserved that drink. And it's how do you shift that mindset from people, because it's not about, it shouldn't be a treat. A treat should be you looking after yourself and doing what makes you feel good, and that doesn't have to include alcohol.
Absolutely. And isn't it about getting that little bit older and maybe thinking about the next 5 years and what will this look like then? Like, That's the thing, isn't it? That's what scared me. I was coming up at the age where my dad died. He was 45 when we lost him,
Mm,
which I always knew was young, but it felt a lot younger as I was approaching that age myself.
yeah.
And just starting to be more health conscious. I was the type of person who would try going to the gym for 3 weeks before I went on holiday and think that that was going to be some sort of miraculous, but that was all about how I looked. Now it's about how I feel. And I think it's really recognizing even those couple of glasses of wine, think about before you have them, what is it that you're really craving? Like, what is it that you want? Oh, I just want to put an end to my work day and start my evening. Like, you could find another way. There's other ways. And have you tried really hard to distract yourself? Maybe we tried really hard during January because it's like a collective consciousness. Everybody's talking about it. It's okay then.
Yeah.
But it's how you approach it. If you're doing it in a way where you're denying what you really desire, or are you thinking, well, actually, yes, I am craving connection, but instead of having a bottle of wine and texting a couple of friends, why don't I make a cup of tea and pick up the phone and chat to someone? Like, you can get your connection in another way. It's really getting to know yourself and thinking, what is it that I'm really craving? And how else can I actually scratch that itch? Like the first thing I missed was the glamour of getting dressed up on a night out. Because through the week, I was going to the tip, I was ripping up carpets, I was
Mm.
painting flats and, doing all of the dirty stuff. So I wanted that glamour of getting dressed up and painting my nails and putting the lippy and the earrings in. And it took a long time to recognize that even though I thought I was getting that, what usually ended was the night didn't look glamorous actually after about 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, and really was I getting what I wanted? And if I missed that, I'm in control. I can have that every day if I want. I can get dressed up, I can play with my hair, my makeup, my clothes. I can do that without having to go to the pub. Like, it's really getting to know what it is that you want, what you're missing. Health was top of mind during COVID. Finances is top of mind now. So think about how much you'd save. Like, do the calculation. How much money would you save, and what could you have instead? So you've got this great big carrot that you're running towards. It's like you're trading. People are going and they're trying different, Botox, different things to try and look at. Try 3 months without alcohol and let's see
Yeah.
what that looks like. It's
Yeah.
just another thing to try.
I do think it is with women like yourself. I do think it's becoming a lot more easier for people to accept in society. They are starting to understand that actually you don't need to have alcohol in your life, and the benefits are there in black and white. But you could have very easily gone down this path and carried on your life and carried on doing what you were doing. But what was the decision? What was behind the decision to actually then go and help other people? Because you could have just stopped there and carried on, but you've actually taken it further and become a life coach. You now help other people go through this process. What was the trigger for that?
I think we teach what we want to learn, don't we? And I think part of feeling, I remember embracing how I felt, and that idea that my friends didn't understand. Think about it, we're not necessarily that we're all the same age, we're at a different stage, aren't we? So other friends might not be the same stage as you, but opening a group on Facebook was my way to find other women at that same stage who wanted to know, who were curious enough. And of course, once that's momentum built up, my friends came and they, were watching from the shadows. But it was just a chance for me to ingrain what I was learning and to share the joy with other people. Because it's almost like I kept saying, I remember at the beginning saying, if one of my friends felt this good and didn't tell me that it was so simple, like if it was it almost feels sometimes like it's a magic pill, because you have the energy to do what you want to do. You have the boundaries in place to say no with no guilt,
Yeah.
like even Christmas. I know I would have spent loads more on my kids had I been drinking because it would have been like a guilty exchange without me even consciously being aware of it at the time.
Yeah.
I deserve this, so okay, then I'll give you that, even though I don't really think that you should have it because we can't afford it or whatever boundary there is. The boundaries just are non-existent. And as well, like being the same person on a Monday as you on a Friday, that's priceless because that didn't happen when I
Yeah.
was drinking. It was like I would overpromise and then underdeliver. And that just leaves you on a pattern of self-loathing. And I was in control of all of it. All of
Yeah.
it.
And it is that self-destruct, isn't it? And I can really relate to that. When I got divorced at 40, I had probably about 18 months where I did drink far too much. And that was my release. And I turned to it as a way of thinking, oh, you've got through the day, have a glass of wine. And actually, the decisions I made in that period of time, I wouldn't have made. If there's no doubt, I wouldn't have made a lot of the decisions I made in those 18 months if I'd have been sober. And I look back now, and when I did stop and I did start going to the gym and completely changed my lifestyle, I felt so much better for it. And then it was only then that life turned around again.
Yeah. And that's interesting because I meet so many women, and I could be included in that. I'm second time married. So my first marriage, I believe it was a little bit of a father figure. My dad died, so I went out and found that father figure, right? When I look back with, these wise eyes,
Yes.
I didn't know that at the time. And so he was a lot of the control in my life. And when I moved away from that, I could do what the hell I wanted, and I was gonna do what the hell I wanted, right? So it was almost like sticking two fingers up to the world. I can, until I got a bit tired and thought, oh, no one's coming, no one's gonna stop this, right? In my second marriage, he is so laid back, so laid back. It's like a different relationship. And so it's time to parent yourself. And I think many women who've been maybe in a controlling relationship or married young and then had that sense of freedom can sometimes get in their own way because of that.
Yeah.
It's like there comes a time when we have to actually parent ourselves. Some people wait until they hit rock bottom, but hopefully, like we're evidence that that's not necessary. You can choose this as a lifestyle because you want something different to the most people. You want something. It could be like your extra edge, isn't it? It's like that. Well, just that extra energy and
Yeah.
clarity and focus. And especially because most people aren't sober, so therefore bring it on even better.
What's your kind of age group? Have you got a predominant age group that you work with, or is there a real mixture?
I think I would say I aim for women over 45 because I
Mm.
feel as if it's something happens when they're 40. I do have clients younger, but I don't think they're as committed. Something happens, I think, over 40, like around that, like 43, 44-ish, where I
Mm.
think something changes. And I don't know whether that's just me or I'm seeing that. But I also have a lot of clients who are like 60s and 70s who wish they'd done this years ago. I think it's definitely from the Ladette culture. A
Yeah.
lot of the people who are attract are strong personalities with very successful businesses and ambitious women, and they're actually managing really well to hold it all together. Um, and they're exhausted, absolutely exhausted.
Yeah.
And this
Yeah.
is where they're going to find that part of them might say, "Don't take me wine; it's all I've got." I would have said that. I would have said that, but actually, I was running a business that I didn't even want to run. My head was down, and I just was keep going, keep going. Where when I stopped and looked up, and I thought, I don't even want to do this. I made this decision 10 years ago. I'm not the same person anymore. I don't want this. It doesn't look like what I thought it would. It needs to stop. And I was looking after 50 properties for other people. So you can imagine sending the emails and saying, I've made a decision. I'm not doing this anymore as of next month. And like, it's a hard decision to say I'm going to do it because to
Yeah.
other people, they go, well, it's working. You're making all this money. You're going to know, but I don't want to listen to when people's drains are blocked. I don't want to
Yeah. You don't want that responsibility and pressure.
I just want to be glamorous and I want to chat to people about improving their lives. And, property is a lot about people. You
Yeah.
meet people in the transition period when they're coming and going from relationships. And I think that's what attracted me initially. And then I ended up being like a maintenance coordinator. And it wasn't where I felt at my best, where I needed to stop and look at my life and say, look, I've designed this and I can change it. I can change it. It's going to take time, but I can change it. And that's what I did. and it's ongoing. It's ongoing. It's not, I'm not there yet. It's ongoing.
Yeah, and I think it's that's a really important point actually that you're not there yet, and maybe you never will be. It's a continuous journey, isn't it? It's like myself with body confidence. You are never 100% body confident. It's always going to be a roller coaster. It's always going to be ups and downs, but it's a journey you're on, and you just stay on it and see how it develops and grows. And that's something about trusting yourself, isn't it? And trusting the
It,
process that you're on.
it's trusting it and keep staying in alignment with what you're doing. Because I think at any time, and I know these at the turn of the year, it's always good to do a bit of a self-assessment and think, like, where am I? Where am I heading? Whether you're drinking or not,
Mm.
with your business, with your health, with all of the things. And it's just nice to just take that snapshot now. I said it before we pressed record that I love what I do. I love promoting my book, but actually, I want to talk to the women who are sober now. What? I want to spend time with her. Like, if you want to stop drinking, read the book, come and find me on YouTube, follow my Facebook group. But my one-to-one service now, moving forward, is going to be I'm sober. Now what?
Yeah.
Like, what am I going to do with all this energy and time? And I have these dreams. I'm ready to say them out loud. How do I get from where I am to there? And that's what excites me.
I
So,
love that. And so let's talk about the book as well. I mean, I bet you when you first started this whole journey, you could never imagine that you'd have been writing a book. So tell me about that.
well, it kind of happened backwards because of the Facebook group. I did a lot of training and I did a lot of like online programs myself, learning how to speak, how to tell a story, and just how to share my message. And so I started doing that on live videos, and then I used the live videos to create an online program. And I started selling the program, and it was selling and brilliant. But then I thought, well, what I really need is people to have a little taste of me before they commit. So the idea came, obviously probably would have been better to do it that way first, to write the book. So I went through everything. And I think because I'm probably more vocal, a bit of a gobshite, I like to talk. If you tell us to sit and write it down, I'm maybe easy distracted. I have to have felted pens and I have all of these colored clipboards to
Yeah.
keep myself interested. So maybe the way that it happened was the best way for me. And the chapters of the book are the modules of my program. And in there, I share about like, what was it that really got me to be congruent with my message? I said before that me talking about how good I feel really ingrained it. But then I sat and I had a client who had learning difficulties. She was 38 years old, and she came into my world and spent time with her, and it really got me thinking about, where do people go if they want to stop? Like, AA wouldn't have been right for her. And the level of client I'm aiming for, she wouldn't go to AA. There's a lot of shame attached.
Yeah.
It's not even that there's a crisis situation. This is just a good time party girl who's kind of just now relying on it for too many reasons.
That's the interesting thing because obviously, you get to a certain point before you go to AA, and that's a process in itself, isn't it? That people get there in their own time, but not everybody is at that stage, but they still would be better without drinking. So how do people get to that point and change their mindset when they come to you and they say, I'm not drinking that much, but
Yes. So this is similar to the lady who had the learning difficulties. And I felt like, because it really helped me to get my message clear, because I didn't want to pitch it that she wouldn't understand. And I used her as my very first client, is to say, does this make sense? And she'd be like, yes. And so I knew then, okay, I can share it with other people. But there's 5 steps. I mean, the 5 women in my book, and they're on the cushion behind me. If I can show you my cushion.
yes, do.
Glamorous.
I love it.
Glitzy cushions.
Oh, look at that.
So these are the 5 stages that I quickly identified I went through. So I don't know if you can see Susie.
Yes.
Susie believes she's stuck. So it spells sober. Susie's stuck. She believes that it's the answer to everything, right? And she doesn't think that she's got a problem. She wouldn't go to AA and she wouldn't want to stop. What would she want to stop for? Because she's having a good time. But then Ollie observes maybe somebody like me, or comes across this blog post and thinks, well, actually, maybe I could improve my life if I cut down those odd few glasses or whatever. And then you become bold like Bessie and you take action. You say, right, I'm going to do it. Now, many people have done this during dry January, but it stops at that stage. You just stay in. And then in February, you're back on it, right?
Yeah.
Nothing's changed. In fact, probably they drank more in December because they knew it was coming.
Yeah.
And they drink more in February because they believe they deserve it.
Yeah.
So nothing has changed. All you've done is prove to yourself that your life's miserable without it. That's what you've done because you've put yourself through something like without alcohol. Whereas Elsie, she takes it a step further where she starts engaging in life. So she catches up with her friends. She invites them for breakfast instead of a night out. She just starts to be a little bit more creative. Maybe she takes the car and she sees what it is that happens when everyone gets drunk. She starts to see life a bit differently. She tries alcohol-free alternatives. She books something to do on a Sunday morning. So she starts engaging in a different way of living and realizes that actually not everyone is getting drunk every weekend. Not everyone is relying on this stuff, and life is quite good without it. And when you look back, and this is when you find yourself telling other people, oh, just stop. And you're the teacher now. You're rebalanced like Riley, and you can take it or leave it. That's the difference. We're not taking a label and saying never ever again. This can be like Slimming World, where like the same concept. I'm doing it for a certain length of time. I'm dipping in, dipping out with no shame.
Yeah.
No shame. You could have a wedding that you're building yourself up to and you want to look amazing. So you drop the drink and then you maybe drink at the wedding. And then you've got a holiday, so you come back. It's even if that is it, that's fine. But
I
most
love that. I love those. That's brilliant.
most women get here and they don't want to go back here. You can't go back. I mean, these circles allow you to go back, but actually you can't unsee what you've seen when you've actually been out sober. You
Yeah.
can't like get past that.
And what I love is that you really are practicing what you preach, and I've seen you over the last 6 months. You're flourishing now, and you've got so many exciting things ahead. So let's talk about kind of how your life is changing and some of the things that you're doing now that you probably never would have imagined doing. And I know that you and I are fellow silver grey-haired women championing the grey hair, looking fantastic. But you'd like to explore lots of different activities and try new things. So let's have a little chat about what you've got coming up.
Absolutely. And I think it gives permission to others to go for their dreams. So there's like a twofold, isn't it? And I think it came from when I embraced my grey hair, and it was when I stopped drinking for the last time. I decided that, well, I won't be going anywhere, so I'm going to lift the dark brown. So the process started to lifting it, and like if anyone's done that, it can go orange. You've got to sit with it. It's horrible. So I thought, well, that's it. I'm not going out and I'm not going to be drinking. Let's go through this process, right? And so I got to the blonde. I was never really happy. I was terrified in case it was this yellow color, So I spent a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of energy, but it was something to do. It was something else to focus on. And I got long blonde hair, which all snapped off. And then lockdown came and I said, right, just cut it all off. And I actually get my hair cut now at the barbers where my boys go. So it's just so different from the whole 3 weeks dye, sitting in a hairdresser and
All the
it's
money you spend. Yeah. It is
not
liberating.
worrying
It's
about
another
them
thing.
boots on a sunny day and I don't know about you, but I would have my hair done and think, well, I'll have to go out because I'm having my hair
Yeah.
done.
Yeah, and you spent all that money on it, so you feel guilty that you're having to do this every 3 or 4 weeks. It's it's yet another thing to add some guilt on to the fact that you're spending money on yourself that really you could do without doing. I found it really liberating.
It is, isn't it? And I think there's something different when you have a compliment of something that you've embraced that's yours. It's not like you've had, like I used to have hair extensions and people say, oh, your hair's lovely. And you go, oh, thank you. I paid £300 for that.
Yeah.
Where if they say, oh, I love your hair, you go, oh, like it's mine, it's yours, the mask's off. And there's something special about that.
Yeah.
I agree.
So now tell me about what you've been up to, because
Oh, well,
I do.
my dream is to follow your footsteps. I would love to be a grey hair model. And obviously for part of my book and the launch and doing all of the PR that I've been involved in, I have had photo shoots, and I had a photo shoot for my own brand and photography, which I absolutely loved. I had all the mood boards out and colors, deciding
Yeah.
what to do, can create. I loved all of that. And then I was invited to go down to London. I had a photo shoot with the Daily Mail, and that was amazing. And now next month, the end of this month, I'm going to London for a photo shoot for Prima magazine. But this time, instead of it leading with the alcohol, it's about my hair.
Fabulous.
And it's about saying, like, embracing yourself, feeling good over 40, and just, that it's just a different stage of life. I feel better than I have it, like, forever. I can't remember feeling this good. I think when I was younger, I had so many insecurities. So now it's like I can just embrace who I am. I'm not trying to make myself different. I'm not pulling my hair straight, and it just feels liberating.
I
So I'm
love that. I
that's
love this story. I love it. So I'm so excited about it because we need to hear more positive role models about women of our age group, because there's so much doom and gloom about midlife and obviously there's physical changes with perimenopause and menopause, and yes, some people really suffer with that, but also it can be an amazing stage in life where you do have these light bulb moments where you think, okay, this is my time now and I'm going to go and embrace everything that comes along, which is exactly what you seem to be doing, which I think is fantastic to hear.
It gives permission to other people as well, doesn't
It
it?
does. Yeah,
That's
it
that.
really does.
Because it's almost like doing it and then talking about it as well. It just takes it to another level, because you can do it and let your dreams come true, but the real juice comes when you share that this is what I wanted. I told them before these photo shoots, before this was in place, I said it out loud, because I'm encouraging my clients to do that. We've
Yeah.
all got dreams, and for many years, you think about the little girl blowing out the birthday candles. Don't tell anyone you wish, where it's kind of turning that on its head and saying, look, who can help me get my dreams to come true? Who's been there? Who can I follow in their footsteps?
Yeah.
That's what I'm inspiring my clients to go for, because everyone's dreams are different. Not everyone wants to go grey. Not everyone wants to stop drinking, but whatever your dreams are, then, like, go for it. You don't need permission. We
No.
wait for permission, don't we?
Yeah, we do. I think women are really, really bad at waiting for stuff, and it's that thinking that they don't deserve it. Almost, it's
What will
knowing your
people think?
worth, isn't it?
What will people think? We have no
Yeah,
idea what people think. I'd like to think that people think, go on there, go for it,
yeah,
do what makes you happy. And
yeah,
the people who don't care, they don't care anyway. So they just get
exactly.
on with their lives.
And I
So
think it's really important that if you do have these dreams, that you reach out to other people like you. So, like you and I started talking 6 months ago, having these conversations and making connections with people, because people usually that are that little bit ahead of you in doing what they're doing, something that you might want to do, they're usually really keen to help others and lift you up. No one's going to turn around and say, oh, I'm not going to tell you anything. Or people
well,
want to help each other.
I mean, you do get the odd time. I remember at the very beginning of my sober coaching idea, and I reached out to somebody else who was doing that as a business. And she was very much, well, this is my business. And, the door was very clearly closed. And
Mm,
fair enough, that's maybe she's had her toes trampled on before or
mm,
something. But, I would like to think that, like that person who's running at the beginning of January, and someone, at the gym is really fit, they look and they remember. Like,
yeah.
you remember, I know, because your career didn't start that long ago. Tell me about that. I'm interested in,
Yeah, no, that didn't start. I didn't start just before was just the end of my 46th year. So just before I was 47, I started. Yeah, which is I'm 52 now, so 5 or 6 years ago. Yeah, and it seems like I've been doing it for so long now because it's something that I'm so passionate about, and I absolutely love the work that I'm doing. It feels like I'm at the right place at the right time for me, but
yeah,
that's been part of a journey as well. And I wouldn't have had the confidence to have done this when I was younger.
of course. And I think it's knowing that sometimes you've got to put yourself forward and be prepared for the knockbacks. Because I've been knocked back. I've put myself forward a couple of things. And it was really funny because there was one opportunity in they sent like the list, and straight away I presumed I was going as the mum. And they said, no, you're the athletic. They wanted somebody to be like an astronaut. They said, no, you're the athlete. And I was like, how we put ourselves
Yes.
in a position. And like, because I mean, I used to be like 4 or 5 sizes bigger.
Mm.
than I am now, but my brain would still automatically put myself. Do you see what I mean? Where
Yes.
she said, no, 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 even though I didn't get it, I took that as a massive
Yeah.
compliment that from my physique, she called me athletic.
Yeah.
It's like, wow. It's like all the little steps, isn't it? Although I didn't get the job, I've been knocked back a couple of times, but it's just having the confidence to put yourself forward, isn't it? And
Absolutely, and not fearing that rejection, because honestly, I mean, particularly in the model industry, you get rejected so many times. I get put forward for jobs, every day, and some of them come off, some of them don't, and it's nothing personal, but it's just about putting yourself out there and just going for it. And they'll either like you, or you're not right for that job, but it's nothing personal. I think that's the thing.
yes.
It's having that, not having that fear, and don't let it hold you back. Because
Well, we talk about that in my membership about rejection and thinking of it as redirection instead. So it's like, you're putting yourself forward, you're learning the process, you feel, and you're right, sometimes at the beginning it was like, stop everything else until I find out if this is the thing. And then after a while, yeah, put me forward. If I hear
yeah,
back, I hear back. If I don't, I don't. And then it becomes a little bit more just every day
yeah.
rather than a massive big deal where you put all your eggs in that basket.
Yeah. So how ambitious, I'm guessing you're very ambitious for the future. How ambitious are you for the Soberholic and the work that you do? Where would you like to see it grow in the next 5 years?
My goal is to travel with my children. So we do home educate, and like when I go to London at the end of the month, one of my boys are coming with me and we're going to do a little bit of an art tour. So the dream is to travel with them and to take my book, if I'm modeling, then
Yeah.
obviously that, like to have a reason. And I'm very resourceful. So the idea of that, if I'm going there anyway, I can add on like something else. Would love to like dig deeper into the family tree and
Mm.
travel looking into that. And we've got loads of dreams between us, so it's just about putting ourselves in a position of, yeah, why not us,
Yeah.
why not? Like the two boys are dreaming of being YouTubers, and they've got their own things going on, and we're working together at the moment actually on a project. I'm pulling together, it's called Think and Grow Rich, but it's called Think and Grow Rich Fresh. So it's for teens. So we're studying the principles of success together, and that's like loads of fun. We're doing that. And one of the arty one, he's doing some illustrations, some people to go with each principle. So we've got loads and loads of things in the
I
pipe.
love that. So how old are you boys?
They're 11 and 12.
Right, brilliant. I mean, my eldest was homeschooled
Right?
from the age of 13 to 16. Slightly different because she had acute anxiety and some mental ill health, so she ended up being homeschooled. But she did really well. She did her exams. She did. People still don't quite know what to do with people when you say, "Oh, I'm homeschooling my children." It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, we're kind of ripping up the script. We're not following the plan. I'm not putting them forward. If they want a GCSE, they need a GCSE at the time when that comes
Yeah,
with them, we can do that. But for now, I'm just finding out, letting them unfold and see who they are, what they love, what they enjoy doing,
yeah,
and encouraging them to do more of that and facilitating anything that they want to learn. So normally if they come to me in the time, I'll say, who invented that game? When did they start? Like to get them to start looking that little bit more critical thinking and
yeah.
digging deeper. And it's fun. I really enjoy
I
it. So
love that because one size doesn't fit all. There's just different routes to education for everybody, and I think it's really liberating.
the reason we did it is because it was part of the plan. We bought a holiday home here in Wales, and we came here to renovate the house. And there's a school behind here, and they went there, but it's Welsh speaking.
Hmm.
So they had to go and do like a intensive language course. And during lockdown, the centre for that closed. So we kind of lost a bit of momentum there. And then after that, we tried a private school, so they were driving, so they could go to an English school. And then in the end, it was like, let's just do it ourselves.
Yeah,
So we kind of just took all the pressure away. And that was about a year and a half ago now. And things can change, but it's what we want. It's what makes us all happy. And
yeah,
it's working out. So
brilliant.
we'll do it for as long as it is. So
Yeah, Good for you. I love that. So, my last question that I ask all my guests, Claire, because I'm really trying to encourage women to be more accepting of themselves and accept compliments easier rather than cringing when somebody says something nice to you. So, if you were to pay yourself a compliment, what would it be?
Mm. Um, I'm enthusiastic and I'm determined. I think that's an inner compliment. I don't know if you meant like an outside
No,
compliment.
inner compliments are usually the ones that people come up with, and I love that. It's not about what the outside is on the inside.
Yeah, I think I'm enthusiastic and determined when I know what I want. I think that's the key, isn't it? Knowing what you want. And I think for such a long time, I could be accused of living someone else's dream. You know, you try to
Mm,
make other people happy. You think that's the right way to go as a woman. And often you wake up and you think, well, what about me? Like, what about what I want?
yeah.
So it's about finding out what you want or the opposite of what you don't want, being determined and staying like back in yourself, being enthusiastic and visualizing that dream because I can see us traveling, I can see it happening. It's just believing in myself and keep
Yeah.
pushing with all of my ideas.
Yeah, and I'm sure you will, and I look forward to following your journey. There'll be, I'm sure there'll be women listening to this that will be, there'll have been lots of different points of our conversation that have kind of hit a nerve that have made them start thinking themselves. What piece of advice would you say that somebody that is thinking, oh gosh, maybe that is me. How do I make a change? What can I do?
I think the first stage would be obviously buy the book.
Yes.
The first chapter, Susie, it's all about letting go of blame. We blame ourselves for things that aren't working out, right? Where I want her to think of it a little bit more like we've been victim of a marketing technique. We've been, there's been a massive marketing campaign for the breweries to get the dosh out of our designer handbags, right?
Mm,
They've done a great job on us so far, but now it's about getting wise and thinking, when am I drinking? Why am I drinking? What do I want to change? So in chapter, with Susie's chapter, we have what's called a habit tracker. So each day, whether you drink or not, just to write down why you're drinking it so you can see that pattern. Is it a reward? Is it because you're stressed every time you speak to your mother? Like, what is it that's making you reach for that drink? That's the first thing. It's just acknowledging where you are and knowing that you're not on your own.
yeah.
That's the
And
main.
how can people come and find you is the next important part.
Yeah, all over social media is Claire the Soberholic, and I have my website, The Soberholic, as well. So anywhere, reach out and you can book a call. I can speak to you one to one. I have an offer on at the moment where if you book a call, you would get put in my membership for a month for free, where you can actually experience what that involves and how much connection and support you actually get from that. But so the first thing would be to book a call, and then after we speak one to one, things might just change. It takes a minute for transformation, really it
Yeah.
does. It's just drilling into what's going to motivate you. Often we're breaking into three areas: health, wealth, and relationships. Which one's nipping you the most, and how can removing alcohol help you? Because it will. It's going to help in all areas of your life.
Well, thank you so much for sharing, and I really love talking to you. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in Prima magazine. I shall get that, and let's keep in touch. But yeah, thank you so much, Claire. It's been an absolute pleasure.
So thanks again.
Take care. Well, as always, lots of food for thought there. And if there are moments in that when you're thinking, oh, maybe that's me, maybe I am at a stage where I want to certainly cut down on alcohol or maybe readdress the situation, then starting, like Claire says, with a drinking habit diary is a really great place to start, just to see, just to evaluate where you are right now. But if you are somebody that does want to give up and thinks that it might be time for you to reevaluate stuff, then go and check Claire out, the Soberholic. I will share her links on the notes afterwards. It's definitely not working for me in the menopause. Alcohol just makes me grumpy. It's not good for my mental well-being. It makes me not sleep very well. And even after a couple of glasses of wine, I feel rubbish the next day. So I've definitely, for me, it doesn't work. So actually, when I look back now, alcohol probably never has worked for me. I've never been good with hangovers. So it's something, that conversation that I'm having with lots of friends and women in my Step Out of the Facebook group, definitely that people are just deciding, actually, no, it's time to give it a miss. So if that's you, go and check Claire out. She's got lots of great tips and advice. I will be back in a fortnight, but in the meantime, keep being fabulous.